Just because the gym is closing doesn't mean the flexing is, so. Muscle went up, endurance crashed. It's leg day, my legs are absolute shit. Fuck it, let's strip.
So I started associating being hungry with something good, with getting shredded. Something that I find very powerful, and that is how you word things. And that is something I truly learned during my prep, where whenever I was hungry, instead of being like, oh shit, I'm hungry, this is going to be a long day, it's going to be a hard day, I turned it around, I flipped that. Okay, so my goal right now is to get really shredded, to lose a lot of weight, and when I get to that point, I will have to be hungry. So I started waking up in the morning with the feeling of, if I am hungry, I am close to my goal. So I started associating being hungry with something good, with getting shredded. So that is the power of the mind. So I actually liked being hungry in the end, which is quite sick, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. So now I swapped everything around in my head. So when I go to leg day, instead of being like, oh, this is gonna be tough, it's gonna be hard, hopefully I can succeed, I can do whatever I wanted to do, but now I changed it around. It's like, this is my weakest body part. And I have goals, I have dreams, I have desires to step on stage in classic physique or bodybuilding. Last time I was meant physique because my legs were shit. So now it's the greatest opportunity of the entire week to improve.
Adding more intent into your workouts, into everything you do, will improve the results that you will see. If you just do a lot of random stuff, you will see a lot of random results. So adding intent into everything is super freaking important. So when it comes to building legs, I have started all my leg days with doing calves. First of all, nobody want to do calves, but it actually matters, especially if it comes to building a physique that you will have to step on stage with. We all know balance between upper body and lower body, and that also matters for your forearms and your calves. And we all know after a heavy ass leg day, we don't want to do calves. Like, we just want to go home, sleep, chill. Like, there's just start with them. But there are actually a massive benefit with starting with them, because if you have poor ankle mobility, which is something I've been suffering throughout my entire career since I played football, I just had so many ankle injuries that they're just so tight, and there's basically no way that I can get into a deep squat without having squatting shoes or help in some kind of way. So actually starting off with doing some very good stretched, deep, paused calf raises actually improves my ankle mobility. So they're warm, they're ready, they're already stretched. So when I get to like the hack squat that I'm doing later, I can go way deeper and I can get way more knee flexion, which is absolutely massive when it comes to building quads. That is one of the reasons why my quads didn't freaking build. Even though I could squat 200 kgs, I worked my ass off. I tried high volume, low volume, lifting heavy, lifting more reps, nothing worked. I have to start stretching, I have to start fixing my ankle mobility, I have to warm them up so I can actually push myself to go even deeper. And magically, it works. So let's start off with 3 sets of calf raises just because I got this. You might think this is gym pen. No, this is actually a friend of mine who made this himself, gave it to me yesterday. So this is the first time I actually used this. So I'm quite excited to see how much weight I can actually put on this and actually have some high quality work where we actually push our strength to the limit. So let's see how far we can go. All right, they're slowly sliding off. So I'm just gonna add this elastic band just to make sure everything will stay in place. All right, that should do it. So when you're a guy with tiny ass legs, there's literally no better feeling than having a good pump in your adductor, because for once, your legs will actually hit each other when you're walking. I feel like that's a problem you only have when you have massive legs. So this is like a tryout for having big legs. You actually feel what it's like. It's like grasping into the future of the legs that you will have, and you'll just feel them for just a moment before the pump collapses and you're just back with your tiniest legs that don't really do anything to each other, but gotta take the small wins, right? All right, so next up we have the Watson hack squat, and that is one of my personal favorites because you can completely tweak everything. So I can change the angle of this. I usually do a 35 degrees. Not that that is magical, it's just what it was when I used it in the beginning before I realized that you could actually change it, and then I got used to it and it worked, so there's no reason to fix it. So that's how I do it. And you can also change the angle of this one. So if you have poor ankle mobility like me, you want to lower this part down. It basically works just like adding squat shoes. So you actually change the angle of your ankles so it's easy for you to go deep. So if that is an issue you have as well, try lowering this way to see if you can go deeper in the bottom. So intent. Why did we do the abductors and the adductors? So the reason I was starting doing them is because I got an injury, because I was way too weak in my adductors compared to how much I could actually press on machines like this. So when you actually push really heavy, I use an old powerlifting technique where you try to split the floor as you actually pushing, which will give you way more power, but you also use your adductors and abductors way more than usually if you're just pressing straight. And that basically just strengthened way too much because they were too weak. So I got an injury, I started stretching, I started slowly working them up with strength, and now I just got to a point where I just love the feeling of having a lot of blood in my adductors. And the adductors before pushing like this, it just feels way more stable, feels way better, no pain, and I want to avoid getting that injury again, so why not just keep doing it? So that is what I'm doing it. And why am I doing the hack squat specifically? What is the intent behind that? It's because my quads are terrible. I'm a pretty good lifter off the floor with deadlift, RDL and all that stuff, so my glutes pretty developed, my hamstrings are okay, could use some work, but my quads are definitely my weakest link. And in a machine like a hack squat, you can completely isolate your quads. Of course, there will always be hamstrings and glutes, adductors, but the way I tweak this is just heavily emphasized on quads. That is just a good exercise for me to build quads, because doing a standard barbell squat, I will just use my ass to get the weight up, and this way I can just totally focus on my quads, which is the goal. So let's get into it. And I always just go up one weight at a time, just to make sure everything is warm, everything is feeling good and loose. We don't want to just throw in a lot of weight and then something feels off, and then it's too late because you already put a lot of weight on your knees, and yeah, that's just how you get injured. I'm not the strongest I've ever been. The injury I was talking about kind of set me back a bit for a while. I had to like lower the weight drastically and then slowly build it back up. So I'm almost back to a pretty decent strength-wise, but still got a long way to go. I've just been focusing on executing my technique perfectly, controlling the tempo, doing slow eccentric, and just torturing my quads, because apparently that's the only thing they'll listen to. Okay, it's time to work. So currently I am doing 2 sets actually in most exercises. It's just a sweet spot for me. If I'm doing 3 sets, the last third set will just be a lot of junk. It doesn't even make sense. When we're talking about intent, it's very important that you don't just do more sets or more reps because you feel like doing more. Sometimes it's better just to do low volume of very high quality work than it is to just slam a lot of junk volume on top. So currently I have 1 set that is like 6 to 8 reps. Last time I got 9 with the weight, so I added 5 kg extra on each side, just to see if we can get down to the sweet spot again between the 6 and the 8 range. That is basically how I'm progressing right now, is that once I exceed the rep limit, I'll just add more weight, and it's a very easy, beneficial way to do it. Then on my back off set, I will have slightly higher reps, so that is 8 to 12. So that's basically the same game. Once I reach 12, 13, I'll just add some more weight, probably go down a few reps and work my way back up again. So let's see how it goes. I gotta get this. Oh shit. Okay, so I added
5 kgs on each side, match the reps. I couldn't wish for more. That is just incredible. My strength this week has just been great in general. I came down from the cut, slowly added more calories. We had a devolume week where we just gave my body some rest, gave it some food, gave it time to recover, and now 2 weeks later, I'm just certainly feeling the benefits. If you haven't tried a proper deload, in the beginning, I didn't believe in rest days. I didn't believe in deload, devolume, all of that bullshit. I thought it was some propaganda by the state to make sure I never reach my fully physical potential. So once you've actually tried to dig yourself into the grave and you finally gave your body just a slight bit of rest, just 1 week, it won't ruin your gains. When you feel the feeling afterwards, just feeling way stronger, way more motivated, way more fresh when you're going to the gym, it's definitely worth it. But if you haven't done deloads, haven't done rest days, start doing them. You'll grow way more than training every single day. How I think of work, it's not that there is a sweet spot of high volume, low volume, high reps, low reps, lifting heavy, lifting perfect slow technique, doing the eccentric, doing the concentric. I'm gonna think of and work out as filling a bucket with water. Imagine yourself standing in your garden with a gardening hose. You have to fill this bucket with water. That is the perfect amount of work that you have to put into your muscle for them to grow. If you just do a lot of half reps with no intent, you don't control the weight, you don't have good technique, it's basically like spraying the water everywhere hoping for it to hit the bucket. If you actually control the movements, doing slow eccentric, maybe even a slow pause at the bottom, and then you explode off the ground, that is working with intent. That is basically like taking the hose and putting it straight into the bucket and just turning the volume to the max. Doing a lot of very intense work will actually make you have to do less volume, because yes, you can fill the bucket pretty freaking fast. But if you just keep pouring water, that will not add more water into the bucket, it's just starting to spill over, and then you have to clean up afterwards. That's basically, if you do a lot of high intensity, high quality work, you will have so much fatigue afterwards that you'll have to clean up, just like the water will be spilled everywhere. So it's about finding that sweet spot where you add enough of high quality work into the bucket until it's full, and then you just get out of the gym. Yes, we want to be here for 3 hours. We love working out. That is why we're here. Because I am so passionate about bodybuilding. I could literally stay here for 3 hours if I want to. But I know it's not optimal. I did that in the past. I was heartbroken after a 7-year relationship. I literally spent every night at the gym just working out until I got tired so I could get home and sleep. It was the only way to turn off my brain. But then I realized I stopped making progress. I didn't progress as fast as I did before that because I had way too much fatigue. I couldn't put in the work and recover and doing the work again the next day. Once I actually toned everything down and got more intentful, so I'm only doing like 2 sets in almost every exercise. As you will see today, I won't have 4 main exercises. I'll have 2 that is heavily focused on quads and 2 that are very focused on hams and glutes. Then I have the abductors, accessories, I wouldn't count those. And as well with the calves, as just work on itself. But my main work is only 4 exercises, 2 sets each. It's basically just putting a lot of high quality water into the bucket. Once it's full, get out of here. And it's just something you have to try out. You cannot just go in and find the magic number from day one. You'll have to tweak it slowly. Something I'm doing right now is that if in multiple weeks in a row, I feel like, oh, every Sunday I can feel that my legs are tired when I have to go and do the RDLs. It's probably because somewhere in my week, there's something I'm doing way too much of, which doesn't make me able to recover for that session. So maybe if I just remove 1 set from the previous leg day and see what's the result. Magically, I am way more ready for that day, I'm way more motivated, I have more energy, I have more power, and I can suddenly explode progression in that day as well. So yes, we took away a little bit from the other day, but we just added way more intent. We added way more productive work to the other day. That's basically how you have to see it. Building muscle is not a sprint, it is a marathon. So maybe you did less work, it felt like you worked less hard that day, but over a stretch of a year, of 2 years, of 5 years, you'll just be way more productive and build way more muscle.
That's basically how to think. In the beginning, I hated doing low volume, but it is so effective. I want consistency in all my reps. It doesn't matter if I get 11. If it's 11 worse rep than last time, then it doesn't make sense. So, slow, controlled, progress. Let's do it. Come on. +1, +1. It's really difficult to imagine that I once was playing football and I could run around the field for 90 minutes and be okay. And now, doing 11 reps in the hack squat, and I'm just completely toasted. I guess muscle went up, endurance crashed. Oh well, worth it. All right, so we basically just destroyed my quads in 2 very high quality sets. So now we move on to a hamstring movement. So I like to switch between hamstring and quads, just because if you just destroy your quads, you will just see that the quality of your sets will just be lower, both because you will lose strength, but also because mentally you'll just be tired of working that same muscle over and again. So I like to just give it a slightly longer break while having a hamstring exercise in between, just so I'm fully locked in for the next quad exercise again. So when it comes to hamstring machines, do you do them seating like this? Do you do them lying? So basically, I'm not a fully science kind of guy. I love to do things optimally. I like to try things out, but if there's something I don't like, I'm not doing it just because science tells me. If there's something that I just love to do and it isn't optimal, well, I would do that instead. But I love this machine, and science also proves that you'll actually have more hamstring gains doing this than doing the lying, because you're just naturally in a more stretched position, because the hamstring also attaches up here. So when you're moving your legs up and down, when you're doing a hip hinge, you'll actually stretch out your hamstring. So when you're sitting in a position like this, that is why you'll see people like Sulek, they'll like bend over just to get a better stretch. Science just proves that working the muscle in a very stretched position just is super beneficial. So if it feels good, if science says it's good, and I like it, what's not to love about it? So let's get it. Last time I got 7. I was freaking hard, so let's see. Come on, come on, come on. That was at least 7.5. I take it. Second exercise for quads. Single leg extension. Is there something magical about doing it single leg? No. But the other day I'm using both legs, so today we're just doing something different. The only reason to actually do single is just to make sure that one leg is not overpowering the other. Usually you see some people have some imbalances because just over time, one leg will just become stronger than the other. And when you're using them both together, like maybe my right will lift more weight than my left because it's stronger. So by doing this, you just make sure that everything is even, everything is balanced. When it comes to bodybuilding, that is super important. Ow. My pump in my hamstring is literally so filthy right now that it is hurting me to do leg extension because my hamstrings are just getting shoved into the seat. Then you know you have a good hamstring pump. Oh, hip thrust. Why are we doing a hip thrust, Oscar? Do you really need big glutes on stage? Yes, you do need big glutes on stage, but glutes are actually the only muscle in my lower body that are actually developed. But the reason why my coach added it in is because my girlfriend called my coach because I was so disappointed in bed last night. Bro, can you give me some thrusting power? I will do whatever it takes. Just giving something that will improve his bed score. And just kidding, I don't have a girlfriend, but I am still disappointing. So we're doing it anyway. So as I was finishing off the last set, yeah, the power just went off. I guess they're closing here at midnight. So, and it was a freaking good workout. Like, I don't know what it is, but those late night workouts, like, you can either be like, oh, it's late, I'm tired, I want to go home, and it will just turn to shit. Or you can just try and do your best, have fun with it, see if you can challenge yourself in a new, unique way, and that's what I did today, and it was an awesome workout. I literally gained extra reps or kgs in every single set. And that is exactly what we want when we want to grow big, strong muscle. We want to be in a caloric surplus. We want to sleep well, recover well, and get stronger. And by that, we will guarantee to build more muscle. Wonderful how that works, right? So that was my training session for the day. So basically, I am down in a parking lot, and hopefully there is an exit, because usually all the doors here are electronic. And at some point, just like the gym shut down, this building is entirely run on time and energy. And hopefully I can find a true exit out of here. Would be sad to have to sleep here. I guess I'll just be doing push-ups and flexing in the crazy downlight all night. Just because the gym is closing doesn't mean the flexing is, so fuck it, let's strip. So basically, that was the session for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Well, I am not stepping on stage until I am satisfied with my legs. I want to show what I can do. I want to prove my worth. I have so many things I have to prove to myself, to the world, and everything around me. And stepping on stage with actually big legs, after having that as a massive weak point for so long, that will just be the biggest victory of all. So thank you guys so much for watching. I love you. Good night.